I've been asked by Jeff, and thank you, Jeff, for having me here today as well, to speak about the spirit of the Olympic Games, to speak about how athletes feel about the Olympic Games. And I was thinking this morning, I've been to 10 Olympic Games. I'm not young anymore, but I'm not, that old. So 10 Olympic Games in my lifetime is a significant number of Olympic Games. 3 of them have been as an athlete, and 7 of them between winter and summer have been as a spectator. I had the pleasure and the opportunity to go to Beijing this past summer, obviously in my advanced age, as a spectator, not as an athlete. And I thought it was incredible. However, as Barry mentioned, to be a spectator at the Olympic Games, you're pretty far down on the totem pole. And I knew that going into the Beijing Olympics. What made Beijing special for me was that I was able to go to Beijing with my husband, who had never been to an Olympic Games before. So he had these ideals of what the Olympics should be, of what the Beijing Olympics in particular should be. So we roll into Beijing, and I, who had a large part that I'm going to get to later in the 1996 opening ceremonies, was literally on my hands and knees begging people for tickets to the opening ceremonies. Could not get tickets to the opening ceremonies, and my husband teased me that I'd fallen really low on the totem pole, and he was more right than he knew. And suddenly I received 2 opening ceremony tickets 30 minutes before the opening ceremonies began because someone had missed their flight. I thought it was very difficult. I thought it was ridiculous that BOCOG had taken so many tickets, that a past Olympian couldn't get tickets to the opening ceremonies. My husband thought it was incredible that we're even able to go. We received tickets from FINA, which I am the chair of the Athletes Commission. FINA is the International Aquatics Federation that reports to the IOC. I chair the Athletes Commission. I received tickets to the swimming events, which were amazing, in seats where I couldn't see the end of the pool. I thought it was terrible. My husband thought it was amazing. So I decided, after all of these problems I was having with tickets and transportation and being treated as I felt as an athlete I shouldn't be treated, I thought, you know what? To heck with all of this special treatment. I'm going to see the games through the eyes of someone who has never been here before. And I let it all go. I let my Olympic experiences go, and I started seeing it as just a person from the United States who came to cheer on my United States counterparts, my United States teammates, and be a fan of the Olympic Games. And I gotta tell you, when I looked at it from those points of view, it was amazing. And I think that's what the Olympics are all about. And as an athlete, as a former Olympian, I went into Beijing with vaulted expectations. But once I lowered those expectations, it was really incredible. And it was really fun to see it through kind of an amateur's eyes, as I like to call my husband. And that reminds me of really what the Olympics mean to me. So in general, I had a great experience in Beijing. I was very honored and blessed to be able to go. And at the end of the day, the Olympics, even though there's a lot more that goes into it, like Barry said, the Olympics are about the athletes. And when I first went to the Olympic Games, I made my first Olympic team in 1988 when I was 16 years old. I turned 17 the week before the games began in Seoul. And I went into Seoul as a world record holder, and I was very young. I was very inexperienced at the international level, but I went in as a favorite to win some gold medals at the Olympic Games. I was swimming 3 events in Seoul. I had some competition from the East Germans, which is a whole nother story. And a lot of people didn't think I could win, but through a lot of hard work, through amazing family, through amazing coaches, I came out of Seoul with 3 Olympic gold medals. I was 17 years old. I had no idea what kind of stage I was appearing on. I really, at the time, this was 20 years ago, I had no idea really what the Olympics were all about. I just knew that I was a kid from Orange County who liked to swim, and I swam fast, and I was 5 feet tall, and it was amazing that I could go out there and beat the East Germans. But when I came home from those Olympics, and I was 17 years old, my identity as a 17-year-old became wrapped up in the identity of a 17-year-old who had just won 3 gold medals. So no longer was I Janet, the kid who's now a senior in high school. I was Janet Evans, triple Olympic gold medalist. And suddenly, to me, as a very impressionable teenager, the Olympics were about winning. because that's all I'd experienced at the Olympics was winning. When I came home my senior year in high school, people asked me if I was going to swim at the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona, and my answer was, of course I'm going to swim at the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona, not because I want to represent my country or see what I can do on an athletic level, because I want to win gold medals. And to me, the Olympics meant standing on that podium and receiving a gold medal and listening to my national anthem, not because it was a US national anthem, just because that meant that I had another gold medal to add to my collection and to add to my identity. And it was very true. And it was a very, very bad situation to be in, because my life at a very young, impressionable age was geared around winning. And at the 1992 Olympics, I swam 2 events. My first race was the 400 meter freestyle. I was the world record holder, defending Olympic champion, and I was touched out at the wall by a former East German by 19/100ths of a second. I had won a silver medal at the Barcelona Olympic Games, and I went into the media room with my silver medal in my hand, and the first question I received from the press was, how does it feel to lose? And the second question I received from the press was, what happened to you? I was nearly 21 years old. I still thought winning was all that life was about, and I was devastated. I thought my world had come to an end, that the best I could do at the Olympic Games was a silver medal. 5 days later, I won the 800 meter freestyle. I defended my Olympic title. I won the race by 5 seconds. I went into the press room, and the media asked me why I didn't break my world record en route to winning the Olympic gold medal. Okay, here I am. I leave the Barcelona Olympic Games with 4 gold medals and 1 silver medal total in my entire athletic career. And I am devastated, because I have been trained to think that the Olympics, and Olympics is a microcosm of life for an athlete, the Olympics and life were all about winning. So I quit the sport. My coach here at USC, a gentleman named Mark Schubert, convinces me to swim for 4 more years and to swim at the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta. Why? Because he wanted me to learn how to be a champion. And I said to Coach Schubert, I am a champion. I'm a 4-time Olympic champion and multiple world champion. What do you mean I need to learn how to be a champion? And he said, you're not going to be successful in anything you do in life until you realize that you're not going to win at everything you do. And you need to swim for 4 more years, and you need to make the Atlanta Olympic team, not to win gold medals in Atlanta, but to learn what it means to fail, because you don't know how to fail, and you are going to fail more times in life than you're going to stand on that victory podium and win gold medals. So come to school at USC, swim for 4 more years, become more well-rounded, and learn that life isn't about winning. And I did. I came here to USC. I graduated from college. I met my husband, who was also in college, went to college here. And I loved swimming again. It became fun for me. And I made the 1996 Atlanta Olympic team. And as the Atlanta Games drew closer, I started thinking about winning again. Because the only thing, as we were weeks away from the Games in Atlanta, the only thing I associated the Olympics with was gold medals. Olympics equaled gold medals. And even though I'd trained for 4 years to learn how to be a champion, to learn how to be gracious in defeat, to learn how to be proud of myself as long as I'd done my best, I couldn't handle that once we rolled in to Atlanta. But something happened to me the day the Olympic Games began in Atlanta. A few weeks before the Games began, I got a call from a gentleman named Billy Payne, who brought the Olympic Games to Atlanta. He is a friend of mine. And Mr. Payne asked me if I could do him a favor at the opening ceremonies of the Olympic Games. And I said, sure, Mr. Payne, what would you like me to do? The Olympic opening ceremonies were about 2 weeks away. And he said, well, I want you to, I've been spending some time with you, Janet. I'd worked a lot with the Olympic Organizing Committee for Atlanta. And I believe that of any athlete I know, you represent what the Olympic spirit is all about. And because of that, I have chosen you to carry the torch at the opening ceremonies of the Olympic Games. I won't tell you who you're passing the torch to. I won't tell you who's passing you the torch, but you will be the second to last person to carry the torch and the final woman. Will you do me this favor? And I said, no. And he said, why? And I said, because I'm going to Atlanta to swim, and I'm going to Atlanta to win. And if I go to opening ceremonies, I'm going to stand in the heat for 5 hours, because that's what the athletes do, and I'm going to be tired, and I don't want that to happen to me, Mr. Payne. It is a great honor, and I appreciate it, but I am coming to Atlanta to win, right? Olympics, that meant winning. And after some hemming and hawing and me explaining to Mr. Payne that I'm a terrible athlete outside of the pool, that I fall, and I was going to light the stadium on fire when running through this thing with the torch, he actually said to me, if you do this, it will be the greatest moment of your Olympic career. And I didn't believe him. I was 24, a little cynical. I didn't believe him, but I did it because he wanted me to, and he was my friend, and I thought I was doing him a favor. And before I knew it, it was a day of opening ceremonies. I'm standing in this dark stadium. There's 10,000 athletes in the stands, and 80,000 people in the stands. The athletes are in the infield, and there's a billion some odd people watching on television. And I'm standing there with my torch. And I don't know who's coming to me. I don't know who's waiting up there for me. But I know I'm out of my element, and I need to be back at the village resting my legs because, gosh darn it, I have to swim the next day, and I'm here to win a gold medal. And before I know it, Evander Holyfield is running to me with the Olympic torch. And I'm amazed because I see this Olympic torch. And then he passes me the torch, and I take this symbol of the Olympic Games in my hand, and I start looking around. And I'm trying to run and not fall, but then I start looking, and I look to my left, and I see 10,000 athletes that were there at the Olympic Games. And they were moving kind of, if you watch at the Olympics very closely, the athletes kind of move en masse to kind of get closer to that torch. And these athletes were doing this. I had never been to an opening ceremonies. Atlanta was my first opening ceremonies. I didn't care about the opening ceremonies. I was at the Olympics to win. But I watched these athletes look at this torch that I was carrying, and I was the messenger, and they were staring at this torch, and then I finally looked at the athletes. And I saw the US team, and I saw the gymnasts on the shoulders of the volleyball team, and I saw them waving, and I saw the swim team yelling, don't fall, you're gonna fall, you're gonna embarrass the swim team. Then I looked past the dream team. I saw Shaq. I saw the Americans that NBC focuses on. I looked past all of them. And for the first time at the Olympic Games, I saw the other athletes that were at those Olympic Games. And yeah, there was Shaquille O'Neal, and there was Michael Johnson at the 1996 Olympics, the track star, but there was the ping pong player from, Tunisia, and the fencer from, who knows where. And it was the first time ever at the Olympic Games I had realized that these athletes even existed. And as I ran that torch and I stood at the top of the Olympic Stadium waiting for the person who ultimately lit it to come up behind me, I looked at those athletes and I realized that the majority of athletes at the Olympic Games do not win a medal. They don't go home with a gold or a silver or a bronze in their gym bag, but they are at the Olympic Games representing their families and their countries and their coaches and the people that have brought them there. And that's what the Olympic movement is all about. And who lit the torch after me, took it from me, and you guys know, Muhammad Ali. And you talk about someone who is standing in front of the world saying, I'm a shadow of who I was, but I am here in the Olympic spirit. So at the end of the day, as an athlete, I believe that's what the Olympic Games are all about. There is a lot of other things that go on, and I know you are all discussing that here today. But remember that. It is for, at the end of the day, the athletes, and that's what the Olympic Games mean to us. Thank you very much.